proud to say that this is what you're watching, although it's going to be all about AI. But this is a human podcast, and so when we're evolving with AI, we'll probably make some mistakes, we'll learn, but we'll just keep it very real. So this is not going to be a perfect scripted thing where you just cannot make a mistake. So that is what it appears like when you're using AI. But of course, if you're actually using it, and if you're an expert in some things, you will begin to realize that just the fact that something sounds perfect does not mean that it's actually right. So we're kicking off the Evolving with AI series today. And one thing I can tell you is it's going to be a very interesting journey. And the reason for that is because we're going to be covering it from different perspectives. And one of the themes, or some of the key themes we're going to be talking about, is we'll be looking at the dark side, the bright side, and the human side as it relates to artificial intelligence. Now, in terms of the dark side, as you've seen, there's a number of different experts and people who are going on to different platforms and talking about, the doom and gloom in terms of the future. And so, for example, even somebody like Elon Musk and most of the tech giants are saying there's soon going to be a time when there are going to be no jobs left, and people will struggle to find their meaning in life. And he keeps on giving the example of somebody could grow vegetables in their garden instead of trying to get it from the supermarket. And and of course, that will take people into potentially, if that happens, in an area where when people have nothing to do. So everything is then controlled by a very limited number of, let's say, people, or a very small force at the top, where people really are dependent on the state. And so one concept obviously is that people will just be provided by something called a UBI, or Universal Basic Income. Now, Elon Musk tries to paint a picture of something positive by saying, it's going to be an age of abundance, and everybody will have what they want. But essentially, it sort of looks more like a master-slave relationship, because when people are completely dependent on the state for their livelihood, then that's not a very good situation. So that is, one side of it. Now, there's a lot of people on the pragmatic side, and again, these are big business leaders and also people across the different spectrum of businesses and industries, and they're saying, this is more of a bubble. There's too much hype right now, because when you actually go on to deploy these systems in the organizations, there's a very high cost involved, and it's really slow to get them moving in the right direction. So it's a kind of a bubble, just like we had the internet bubble, which is gradually just going to burst, because there's so much investment going on at the top, which is unreal, and it feels like that because that is like circular spending. It is a very limited number of 3-4 huge tech giants who keep exchanging money between themselves, whether it is Nvidia or Meta or XAI from Grok. So these companies are apparently investing billions of dollars, but it's like a circular spend, because all of that money is revolving within these large organizations. Having said that, the governments are very aggressively investing into this. I mean, we look at the US government, a lot of other governments across the world, they do understand that this is something which is really, really significant. And similarly, China again is surprisingly with an open source model. The last thing you would expect from a country like China is to have an open source model, and they've come up with an open source model, and they're challenging all the existing big giants on the tech side. And so, but if you go on and look towards the brighter side, it is a reality that most people have just started embracing AI at an individual level. So a lot of people, almost most people will have already begun to use it for not just finding information, but at times getting let's say some basic advice on the medical side, on the legal side, and it's getting really, really good, and it's getting better at what it does. And so historically, so for example, if you want to do some research, you would require a long time. But now, with the right kind of prompt and with the right kind of questions, you begin to get that information a lot faster. Now, since the social side is going to be the most important side, because obviously it affects all of us, and the objective of that is, we would like to preemptively understand what is going around us and react in a way which is positive and good, and come out at the end of all of this as better human beings, as stronger, as more positive people. So for that social impact piece, we've come up with the concept. We've pioneered this, and this could also be used as almost like a trademark. We kept on thinking in terms of what would be the best and easiest model to be able to talk about the social side of things. And so instead of making it very philosophical, and instead of talking about the stereotype kind of self improvement things, we thought of coming up with a model. This ideal model that we need to have is going to be a gold standard of human excellence, and I thought we'll call it the Platinum Man. That is why it's really important, sort of to preserve the standard in its originality. And any changes that take place, we'll be sharing it with you. So, in a very short essence or description of the Platinum Man is, this is a person who's got a heart of gold, and who's got a spirit of steel, and who's a force for good. Okay, so essentially it encapsulates or captures the best attitudes that we've seen, from the beginning of time. Now, of course, the starting point of the Platinum Man is going to be the fact that he's powered by knowledge and wisdom. And what that really means is that he loves to learn and is open to being corrected. He is objective and not biased. And of course, these are all major things that we'll keep on discussing in different sessions. He's a truth seeker, and he does not easily fall for narratives because he understands how they're formed. Another important thing is that he lives a real healthy social life, not an online one. And last but not the least is, in terms of his core values, he's driven by fairness and justice, even if it goes against himself or his friends and family. And coming to the heart of gold, now what that would entail is he does not ridicule others. He avoids vulgar language. He's dedicated to his parents and family. He's respectful to the elders, and he's kind to the young. He respects privacy and confidentiality, and he does not pry in other people's lives. He's focused on self improvement instead of criticizing others. And of course, last but not the least, it's incredibly important in life in general, but especially when major changes are happening around you, is this Platinum Man, he's got to have a spirit of steel. And of course, what that means is that he's physically and mentally strong, but at the same time, he's humble in his attitude. He bounces back wiser and stronger after every failure. He's got the courage to accept mistakes, and he's cool headed in crisis and in battle. So, this is the baseline Platinum model, let's say version 1. And we'd love to get your views, and would love to incorporate the feedback from you and continue to improve on this basic standard. So when we talk about social impact, in terms of what needs to be done in this ever-changing landscape, it's we've got an easy reference to go back to.